Welcome, Byron Hambly, to the Larpar Show, where we talk about what is money, what is coming, and how to protect your family. So, Byron, how did you find Bitcoin and how has it changed your life?
Hey Lawrence, thanks for having me. Yeah, what a great day to be doing this show. Amazing news to see new all-time highs this morning. Although it's always bittersweet because the cheaper sats are sort of behind us now. And
Yeah,
regardless, Bitcoin is a psychopath, and we celebrate anyway.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
my journey to Bitcoin started quite a long time ago. I actually stumbled across it in Hacker News, which is a tech forum, all the way back in 2012. But being younger and a bit more easily influenced, I took some of the comments that I saw to heart and thought nothing of it. And so it was another 5 years maybe before I decided to start getting into it. But because I didn't truly understand it, I just came for number go up. And in 2018, when it all came crashing down, I capitulated. I ran away. And over the next few years, I started working on some newer programming languages and started working on crypto and Bitcoin related stuff. And that's when I really started going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, learning about the hard cap, learning about how, the decentralization of Bitcoin enforces that. And yeah, luckily I got recruited by Blockstream in 2022, and I've been working there since then.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? 2020, some people took the time to really go in and learn and research around them and start learning more about what's going on around the world. Yeah. And some people got sucked into the fear. Yeah, but thank God, I think a lot of us kind of seen the light and stayed in our lane and just focused, you know what I mean, on probably learning more. And that's how we dealt with that. But that time actually changed a lot of people's lives. It did for some for the good, you know what I mean, some for a different way. But thank God we were on the right side of it. And a lot of us found Bitcoin in around 2020, you know? Yeah.
Exactly that. I think it pulled back the curtain a lot on, government control, propaganda, mandates, all these things, and then also seeing the liquidity that came into the system back then. The US government created more base money than that had ever existed before, I believe, and watching the Bitcoin price go up because of that, because it's such a hard asset, and as you say, doing the work to understand these things, staying in your lane, working hard and saving in Bitcoin. I mean, the way it's changed my life is I truly feel that one day I may be able to retire now, whereas I think most millennials or people my age don't have savings and don't foresee a way to be able to retire in the future. And I think that's a really sad thing because the debasement of our money causes us to value the present more in terms of consumption instead of saving for the long term. Because unless you're a very sophisticated investor, you're not going to beat the Bitcoin returns. And it makes it dead simple for the average person to save their money for the future. And yes, it's volatile during the years, but if you have a longer time frame, you just zoom out, you can see where the graph is going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. More people really need to do their work and understand that Bitcoin, for the normal person anyway, is an amazing savings technology. Yeah. And most people are still saving in like an old analog way, but we found a new digital way to save in. Yeah. And something that's moving faster and moving better. And it's so much more amazing. And the whole industry that if you want to get into it, there's, as I say to even my kids and younger people, Bitcoin is an industry. It's a new industry, like say the medical industry, like the oil industry. So many things are gonna spurt out of this industry. Yeah, it's gonna create hundreds of different lanes. Yeah, with thousands of different opportunities, and we're just only starting. So it's the future. We can see it's the future. Other people have to just do their work and understand it's the future. And it's the future for a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah. I know people say it's the future of money, but it's going to create so much more in the future that I think it's going to create a better world anyway. Yeah. Once more people realize what we have here and what we've been given by Satoshi. Yeah.
I think Bitcoiners do truly believe it's going to make the world a better place. I mean, the government can't print Bitcoin out of nowhere to send it to some foreign country to bomb some innocent people wherever they may be. It's it gives you sovereignty over your money instead of it being, held in a mere fraction in a bank, or the stock markets may crash, or your house could get annexed by the government, your real estate, or your gold is much easier to seize than 12 words in your head. And yeah, I think us Bitcoiners we believe it's going to make the world a better place. And I think we can all see it in our own lives and the way it lowers your time preference and makes you want to save for your future. And yeah, I'm so excited for my kids to grow up and be Bitcoin native, as you say, and be in that whole new industry. Because right now it's like Bitcoin is like the internet was in the late 90s, where only a few people are really getting it, and we haven't hit mass market adoption by any means, although that may be starting now with all this institutional investment, and I'm sure retail will come along shortly.
Yeah, yeah. We've got a 3-year-old, 2.5-year-old. He's going to be 3 in December. He's a Christmas baby, and his whole life is just completely different to my other three children. Yeah, to the other 3 children that we have. We call him the Bitcoin baby. He goes to all the conferences with us. He's been to Madeira. He's been to Amsterdam. When he comes to the Irish concerts, all the Bitcoiners here in Ireland meet him. You know what I mean? A lot of Bitcoiners around the world have met him as well. You know, uh, so yeah, it's amazing just the world that he's coming into and the future for him and all of our other kids and people around us as well, because we know now we have an escape route, an exit route, and uh, some people in the future might get a chance to get involved. We're gonna have to really see about the future and how these on ramps, how long more they last, because like a year and a half ago, I was talking about CBDCs to people, and people thought, that's 5 years out the road, 10 years out the road. But I can see this happening a lot sooner than most people can see. Yeah, I think maybe by 2026, we're probably going to have CBDCs really launched hard and fast. Yeah. What about yourself? Have you ever looked at that, like with CBDCs and things like that? What's your outlook on that?
Yeah, my outlook is very negative on CBDCs and digital ID and everything like that, because these all of this data collection is only used for nefarious purposes eventually, or no matter how good the intentions are, the we've all seen the nation state level hacks and cyber security incidents, and that data, if it's stored, is always going to make its way into the wrong hands. And besides that, just having government is very dystopian for them to say, here's your CBDC allowance and it must be spent within 1 month and you can't spend it on these things. And, I think us Bitcoiners are just much more freedom loving and libertarian than that. And, we'll never bend the knee to that. So yeah, very negative on CBDCs. But as you say, they are around the corner, and I think they've already been piloted in a number of countries, and the good kind of news there is that seeing it piloted in Nigeria and being roundly dismissed almost by the population, and they continue to use dollar stable coins and they continue to use Bitcoin, and it is our alternative system that the government can't stop and control. Although they can do a lot to the on ramps and off ramps, and spending it in taxes and all of that stuff. So I think we're truly at the fight you stage now before it's accepted. But yeah, we just got to stay strong and fight against the CBDC specter.
Yeah, yeah. And then on a macro level, yeah. Or first of all, and then we talk maybe locally, and we get into a little bit about liquid as well. Yeah, because I'm fairly intrigued about that. It's getting a lot of wings now, and it's getting integrated with the different apps and things like that. What do you see happening with Bitcoin in on a macro level? Yeah. with all these institutions that are coming on board and the ETFs, and every day I found a list there the other day about a treasury holdings of uh, public and private companies. And I know we only hear about the likes of MicroStrategy and MetaPlanet and similar scientific buying Bitcoin, but there was a whole list there of nearly 130 companies that I came across. Yeah, plus the ETFs, plus governments, plus institutions.
It's extremely bullish. I mean, I think the world and the TradFi sector is, finally figured it out, or they are figuring it out. And once you do figure it out, you can't get enough quickly enough. And I think we're going to see a massive wave of that over the new year. So globally, the conditions are really ripe for a huge bull market right now. I mean, interest rates are coming down around the world, and the liquidity is improving in the system, and that's going to find its way, yes, to the stock market, real estate, gold, but a lot of it is going to Bitcoin. I think the the wider financial industry has started figuring that out, and I think we're in for huge tailwinds this year, with the new government in the US, and all around the world. I think it's starting to become more mainstream and more accepted and looked at as digital gold and a store of value, which we very well know it is. But I think the volatility does put off a lot of retail investors and people wanting to save money. And when you don't understand the assets, it's easy to be put off by big downswings. But if you're not in it, you don't catch the big upswings, right?
Yeah.
And so globally, I think, yeah, I'm no macro expert at all, but I see it as massive tailwinds for Bitcoin this year. And just to speak about locally, I'm in South Africa, and it's really interesting to see Bitcoin adoption here, because there's massive wealth inequality in South Africa due to our checkered past. And so there's two aspects to it. There's the haves, and they can finally start saving their money in something that can't be debased. And you don't have to do real estate and everything that goes along with that. You don't have to hold gold. You just have to hold Bitcoin and save for the future. But much more interesting are the circular economies that have sprung up here. They've been going for a number of years. The most famous of which is Bitcoin Ekasi down in the Cape in Mossel Bay. And it's a township of very poor people, but the local community has started accepting Bitcoin, and there's a whole surf school of kids, and it's run by a great guy here, Herman de Vivier. You should get him on the show sometime. Really great guy who lives on the Bitcoin standard, pays all the instructors and the kids in Bitcoin, and they've onboarded a whole bunch of shops, and they're starting to onboard the shops suppliers to Bitcoin as well. And so there's a huge circular economy there. And so when people tell you Bitcoin is not a method of exchange, they're wrong. It is
Mhm.
being used in circular economies around the world. And for it to be a store of value, it must also be a method of exchange, because you must be able to exchange it in the future. So very cool to see Bitcoin and Kasi here in South Africa, Bitcoin Vitsand, another circular economy. And for me, that's the true promise of Bitcoin, is to have these people that they can't provide proof of residence or ID documents to get bank accounts and pay fees every month for that, but they can get phones, and they can accept Lightning, and they can get paid and save their money for the future. And yeah, I just love to see it. So sorry for that tangent.
No, 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 that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, because I'd be talking to people in El Salvador as well. Yeah, in Berlin, and they've been doing amazing work down there on the ground over there. Charlie Stevens and Nikki and James, they're over there, and some of the other team that are locally there as well. And you can just see it happening. And like even here in Ireland, there's uh not the like that shops take it, but I could buy a car over here if I wanted to with Bitcoin, you know. I'm sure I could do some sort of a property deal with somebody if I wanted to buy property. I'm not going down that road though, because I found the best asset on the planet. I'm not going backwards. I'm just going forward. But yeah, it's
Exactly.
starting
I
to
think
take
that
off.
may be the best part. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
may be the best part of it too. Just demonetizing all these other asset classes that have taken on this monetary premium because people can't save in cash. Otherwise, they'll be debased. So people have to invest in the stock market and real estate and whatever else. And those things have a monetary premium to the point that young people can't afford to buy a house, which is crazy. I mean, houses are not scarce. I mean, they're far less scarce than Bitcoin and other assets, but the institutional investment into real estate has made it the prices just not reflect their utility value.
Yeah, yeah. And I was in a group, a meeting with a group of people there last week, and they were all talking about how much the price of property has gone up. And I tried to talk to them a few times about Bitcoin and explain to them, but how I kind of talk to people is about looking at the cost of money. Yeah. And most people don't understand that it's a privilege for us in Europe here or in people in America or wherever with the money that we use. Yeah. But there's a cost to that. And the cost of that is running about 13 to 15%. In South Africa, it's probably a lot more than that because they're probably debasing a lot more than that. So unless any of your assets or your business or even your wages have to be growing by a minimum of 20% per year on year, the last 10 years, yeah, or else you're drowning. I was drowning like most of my life. Yeah. I'm just not drowning now the last 3 or 4 years since I've taken the time and put the work into learning about this. And it does take time and you won't get it straight away. You won't understand it. But people really need to understand about this uh, currency that we get compensated in. Yeah. It's actually killing us. Yeah. And people are just trying to work harder and harder and work harder in their business. People are working exponentially harder and getting compensated in a currency that's exponentially weaker. Uh, so they're not going anywhere. We're actually going backwards in the whole fiat system. But the way it's designed to keep you trapped in there, locked in there, and just focus on just keeping that wheel going around and around and around. And now, thank God for like a lot of us and a lot more other people that take the time to do the work, they can get out of that. And you can get out of it. You can get out of that rat race, but you just need to put in the time to learn about what we've learned about and copped onto.
Yeah, learning
Mhm.
about it is one thing, and I think, being able to save each month is also very difficult for people. But you have to get to a point where you're spending less than you earn and being able to save some of it. Because if you can save that in Bitcoin, you can provide for your future given, 4 or 5 years. And I think you absolutely nailed it when you said drowning, because, they quote their CPI figures, and everyone can feel that inflation is truly much higher than that. I mean, the prices of goods and services around the country, as you say, it's 10 to 20% at minimum for the just how your currency is really being debased and how much less you're able to afford each month. And I think people do have an intuitive understanding of it. If you can, my way of trying to get it across to them is, would you rather hold US dollars or South African rands or Argentinian pesos? And likely they're going to say dollars. And then you got to say to them why? Why? And try get them to the point, why don't you want to hold pesos? Well, they have crazy inflation. Okay, so rands have less inflation and dollars have less inflation. And once you understand Bitcoin, you know that after the issuance schedule, there is no inflation. And that is set out in stone and can't be changed without a hard fork, which no holder of Bitcoin is going to agree to. And so, but I think, people are just so busy drowning that it's really difficult to get onto the lifeboat or to even see it. They're just thrashing at the waves.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But it's there for everybody to learn. People just need to take the time to put in the work. Yeah, and don't get afraid of all the fear and negativity that we've been hearing and all the FUD that we've been hearing about for the last 15 years. Yeah. I missed it when it was $30. You know, silly me,
Me
but
too,
like it is
mate.
what it is. It is
Yeah,
what it
get some
is.
skin in the game, buy a little bit of Bitcoin, and say to yourself, I'm going to hold it for at least 4 years. And in the meantime, I'm going to learn about it. Why are these people telling me to study Bitcoin? And once you've got some skin in the game, hold on to that Bitcoin hodl and see where it takes you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And let's jump into talking about these. We hear about a lot of layer twos and stuff like that on Bitcoin. Yeah. So Bitcoin blockchain is the main layer, the base layer. Do you want to explain a little bit about different layer twos and maybe layer threes in the future? And then we can jump into a little bit about the difference between lightning and liquid. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. So, what some people may or may not know is back in 2017, there was a hard fork from Bitcoin called Bitcoin Cash. And their reasoning was that they wanted larger blocks to be able to have more transaction throughput. And so that resulted in a split of the network. And now the original Bitcoin has continued to go up in value, whereas the fork has been decimated in value since that time. And part of why the community rejected that fork is because as soon as you make a blockchain doesn't scale. Let's start there. It's by design, it's highly redundant and a copy of the entire blockchain, which is already almost 700 gigabytes on each Bitcoin node that's running as part of the network. So, and what you want for maximum decentralization of the network is for anyone to be able to verify the blockchain for themselves. And building on that, in order to remain decentralized, we need to scale in layers above the main chain. Because it only has a set amount of throughput, we can't have everyone in the world transacting on the base layer. Instead of seeing it as everyone's way to buy coffee, you need to see it more as a final settlement layer. Just like today, you have things like Fedwire and those interbank settlements at the end of the day. That's what the Bitcoin base layer base case is for, final settlement. Now, in order to have much faster payments and more scalable to a larger number of people around the world, we need, yes, the final settlement to happen on Bitcoin, but we need layers above that that can interact with each other without touching the base layer until that settlement stage. So the best example of layer two is like where you get these bidirectional payment channels set up between people, and this means that channel for as long as necessary and can route payments back and forth between it without ever touching the base layer until the channel is closed again. So the channel opening touches the base layer because you need to create that 202 output. And once that channel is closed, it goes back down to the base layer for the final settlement between the two channel parties. And what I work on at Blockstream is side chain, so it's different from Lightning chain, and it's pegged to Bitcoin, which means that the Bitcoin from the base layer that gets what we call pegged into the liquid network is then it's verifiable that the Liquid Federation has those reserves, and you can then make a number of payments on the side chain, which has a variety of features that are not available on Bitcoin. And you can do that without touching the Bitcoin base layer until you decide to peg out your funds from Liquid and back to Bitcoin. I'll continue a bit just to explain a bit more about how Liquid works, because I
Yeah.
mentioned the Liquid Federation, and this is a group of now it must be almost 70 companies around the world, which include exchanges and wallet creators, and a whole lot of Bitcoin payments companies. All sorts of companies are involved in this Liquid Federation, and 15 of those members we call the functionary operators, and they run the 15 servers that run the Liquid sidechain. So as I mentioned, when your funds are pegged in, what you're doing is you're sending your Bitcoin to the Liquid Federation, and you can then claim Liquid Bitcoin on the sidechain. And once you have that, it opens you up to a lot of the new features that I mentioned, where transactions are confidential by default. So unlike Bitcoin, on Liquid, you can have confidential amounts in your transactions as well as confidential assets. And where that comes into play is that Liquid also provides asset issuance. So it's not just Bitcoin. You can also have stable coins or whatever asset an issuer wants to create on the sidechain. Probably the most famous of which is USD Tether, which is available on the Liquid sidechain. And that issuer, so those amounts and asset types are confidential in the sidechain, and it has much faster block times. It has 1 minute block times. So whereas Bitcoin has on average 10-minute block times, the sidechain has every minute there's a block, and it doesn't use proof of work like Bitcoin does because it's the 15 functionaries running the network also create the blocks, and so it's not necessary for them to mine. They just agree on what the next block looks like by including transactions in the mempool. So I hope that's a good uh, introduction. Let me know if you have any questions about that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, but it's all kind of relatively new anyway, isn't it? How long is Liquid going now? How long has it been
It
out
actually
there?
launched in It actually launched in 2018, so it's been around for about 6 years at this stage, and I think it's had quite a slow uptake just because it was historically unnecessary to move your funds off the main chain. You know, fees have been very low for a very long time. And then I think last year we started to see these massive fee spikes, and that's when we started getting more liquid usage. And with 6 years of track record and reliability, and no hacks and no funds stolen, the Liquid Federation and the Liquid Network has proved its just how solid it is in the last 6 years. And now we're seeing a lot of usage, especially in interesting things like Lightning to Liquid swaps, because especially while fees are very high on Bitcoin, it's difficult to open or close Lightning channels. And if you get force closed, it's even worse because you're going to end up paying a massive fee and a punishment penalty on that. And so one of the most interesting use cases was when fees were so high, we started seeing people rebalancing their channels via Liquid. And so they were, once one side of their Lightning channel was depleted, they were able to swap into and out of Liquid to rebalance their channels at a much lower cost, because on Liquid, the transaction fees start from a much lower fee rate than Bitcoin as well. On Bitcoin, the lowest fee rate is 1 Satoshi per virtual byte, whereas on Liquid, we can start from zero point 0.1 Satoshi. So it's a factor of 10 cheaper just in the fee rate itself. And then because the blocks are so consistent and so much faster, there's very little time when you have to pay any higher than that. So you get the absolute lowest fees. Yes, there's a trade-off with in terms of custody, where it's better than a single Lightning provider, but it's as decentralized as a federation of custodians could be. They're located around the world, and extremely difficult for them to collude with each other. And it's in their best interests. Their incentives lie in making the Liquid network solid and reliable and continuing to work because they use it in their day-to-day operations and they use it for their own purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. All right. And then regarding you're saying there's a whole load of number of different companies and uh, different layers integrating with Liquid now as well. And where can you see that going forward for 2025?
Well, I think one of the largest sort of markets we've seen emerging is in asset issuance. So as I say, Liquid provides the ability for issuers to create new assets on the sidechain, and those are obviously backed by the issuers themselves. And the largest of which we've seen is a Mexican company called Mifil, which is issuing these promissory notes in Mexico, which historically was done in an analog like paper way. And if I handed you the promissory note, you were then entitled to redeem it from the issuer or from whoever owed you the money for the note. Whereas now they've digitized this, and they've issued these notes on the Liquid blockchain, which means that people can hold their own keys. They can send them back and forth between each other as they need to. And it's been such a huge business for them that they have issued, I believe it's almost $2 billion worth of these promissory notes. And so we're seeing a lot of usage from institutional investors and issuers. And the other thing that Liquid provides is asset issuance is permissionless. So anyone can issue an asset. You shouldn't trust any asset unless you know the issuer. Again, the example is Tether. You know that you can go and redeem your USD Tether from them for dollars. And so the trust in those assets, you need to put it in the issuer for that. Anyone can issue assets, but there is also a way to issue securities. And in order to do that, there's a system called AMP, which Blockstream runs, which is asset management platform. And you can use that if you want to issue a security on Liquid and you have certain regulatory restrictions, you can have those restrictions controlled by this AMP system, and so that only authorized participants can buy or sell or transfer those securities in those jurisdictions where you have rules about them. So yeah, in general, in the future, I think is looking bright for Liquid in terms of asset issuance, and besides that, it's just a very useful tool when if or when fees are getting high, or that's the major use case, as you can see with something like Aqua Wallet, where they have integrated Liquid. It's essentially a Liquid wallet. It does Lightning by using those swaps from between Liquid and Lightning, like I mentioned earlier. And on top of that, they also can accept Tether on Liquid natively, but they also have a system for exchanging Tether between other networks into Liquid and back out using, I believe, it uses side shift under the hood. Liquid has found itself as this very useful tool that when fees are very high, it may make sense, to stack via Lightning, stack it into Liquid UTXOs until it makes sense to economic sense to transfer that to the main chain from there once your UTXO could be big enough on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all interesting things happening anyway. Yeah. And it's all moving forward. Yeah. 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 But
Absolutely.
uh, most people don't need to get into all the technical side of things. They just need to learn about Bitcoin, how it's a great savings technology, and start learning how it can help you in the future. Yeah. And stack sats, you
Exactly that.
know.
If you're just getting into it, just buy your first Bitcoin. But I think once you come closer to living on a Bitcoin standard, maybe that's when you do start learning more about, okay, well, now I need to be able to pay day to day with my Bitcoin, and because I don't have anything in fiat. And so how can I do that in a more fee economical way? Because right now it may be possible to make all your payments on the Bitcoin base layer, but as we know, every 4 years, the issuance is hot, and it's sort of expected that as adoption increases, fee rates are going to get higher and higher and higher. So whereas now you may be paying $1 to $3 for a fee or less, hopefully, when the network is extremely busy, you're going to have to pay north of $10, $20, $50, $100 for a fee. And once we reach hyper Bitcoinized base layer will essentially be for intra-country settlement, they'll which may be hundreds of thousands of dollars, or who knows. We're looking far into the future here, but again, for Bitcoin to remain decentralized, the scaling has to happen in other layers, and Liquid is just one of those solutions for people that want to start looking into it. Lightning is probably the most well-known and understood but there too. And then you have things like Liquid, you have things like eCash, Charmian eCash, which is growing in popularity now. And there's new things on the horizon like Arc and virtual UTXOs and stuff like that. So yes, it's kind of confusing. I mean, everything about Bitcoin is confusing, and the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. There's endless stuff to learn. So if you just need to save your money, buy Bitcoin now while fees are cheap, and store it on a hard wallet, and have a backup and practice all of that stuff. But once you start spending it more and needing to find ways to be more economical with fees, then you will be drawn to things like Lightning and Liquid and Fedimint and whatever the layer twos we're going to see in the future are, because we are still extremely early and everyone is still figuring out the best ways to do layered scaling in Bitcoin. And the thing about this layered scaling is there must be some kind of trade-off. If it were possible to scale Bitcoin in a way that had no trade-offs for decentralization or security, then that would be included in Bitcoin. It would be an easy win. But because those changes normally go against decentralization or security, it means that there's a trade-off when you're using these layer twos. In Lightning, that trade-off normally means that your capital is locked up in those channels. And yes, you can spend among them, but now you have to rebalance channels occasionally. And so there's a higher sort of amount of work you have to do in a self-sovereign way to run Lightning. A lot of people just use custodial Lightning. And in that case, Liquid is also a custodian, but it's much less custodial in a way than custodial Lightning, because instead of one company being able to rug all of those channels, you now have 15 companies around the world that would have to collude with each other to do this. And as soon as any kind of foul play is seen there, the Liquid can immediately start counter ops in order to fight that off. So, on the spectrum of custody, Liquid is far more towards the decentralized custody side, whereas single custodial Lightning is just one custodian, like having your funds on an exchange. So, but it is possible to do self-custodial Lightning. It's just much more tricky because of these capital requirements, because of ongoing maintenance and channel rebalancing. And besides that, for your Lightning channel to sign updates, it also needs to have the private keys online ready to sign those update transactions. Whereas on Liquid, you can use an offline hardware wallet, hardware signer like the Blockstream Jade for funds on Liquid. And so really I see it as a nice middle ground between Lightning and Bitcoin. The way I would use it day to day is if I'm receiving Lightning, I can store it in Liquid to make sure that my Lightning channel remains has some incoming capacity left for more receiving. And if I need to pay, I can swap from Liquid to Lightning to pay via Lightning. And if I'm happy with or if my Liquid stack grows to a size where I now want it to be more secure than being with the Federation, you then peg out to the Bitcoin network and you hold your keys in a self-sovereign manner, also in an offline hardware wallet. And you take care of your stack that way.
Yeah, so more learning for people out there, for Bitcoiners. We never stop learning. That's what it's all about, isn't it? This is an amazing journey that we're all on. And yeah, yeah, it's all new, isn't it? And it's only starting and we're just all so early. Yeah. There's billions of people coming up behind us. Yeah. And hope they can see to reap the rewards and the benefits that we've seen and the hope that we have now as well for the future. Isn't it? So it's all amazing work that you're all doing over there. And so
Thanks. Yeah.
uh wrapping it up now, what do you think yourself going forward for uh Bitcoin in the future in 2025? Where can we see us going? Everything's very
Yeah.
exciting now. We just broke this all-time high, you know what I mean? But let's stay grounded, let's stay humble, you know?
Exactly that. I think it's going to be I think 2025 is going to be an amazing year for Bitcoin. We're looking at new all-time highs every couple of days now. I think the 100K today has felt slow, but you look back and it was an all-time high like 10, 11 days ago. And, we're in for a whole lot more of that this year, but you do need to remember that it is volatile. This asset is repricing the world. Like we've never seen a new monetary asset like this start to become adopted and start to reach global adoption and become and to achieve value. Value is a subjective thing. And clearly, a lot of people, the market is now valuing Bitcoin at $100,000 per coin. And to put it in perspective, I think I posted something like back in, it was not even 2 months ago, and we're at 74K. So you need to have some skin in the game in order to benefit from these massive upswings, because when Bitcoin moves, it moves very quickly to the upside. And yes, it can also move very quickly to the downside. But do your work to understand the asset and to understand why the market is valuing it as it is right now. And once you do that work, you will understand that there is no top, because fiat has no bottom. Do you think they will ever stop printing money? The answer is no. They have to continue to expand their credit bubbles in order for there not to be gigantic market collapses like the crisis in '08 and like the crisis during COVID and whatever it is. And when those things happen, they have no choice but to backstop all of that liquidity by creating new money out of thin air, which is what they do. And you could say that Bitcoin was created out of thin air, but the way that it's issued is set in stone. And for that to change, and understanding this is the key component. Understanding that for Bitcoin's issuance or monetary cap to change is almost impossible. It would require a global consensus of people, 100,000 Bitcoin nodes, to agree to debase them. The nodes I run, and I don't think Lawrence is going to do that, and I don't think Michael Saylor is going to do that, and I don't think any of the Bitcoin developers are going to do that. So I have a very strong conviction that saving your money in Bitcoin is the way of the future. And that's what I'm trying to do for my children, for my retirement, because I think most young people feel hopeless. They have a sense of financial nihilism, and they think that what's the point? I don't earn enough. I can never make it. I can never retire. I can never own a house. And if you just start down the orange Bitcoin rabbit hole now, just get a little bit and start learning about it, and speak to smarter people than yourself, and speak to people that have been around in Bitcoin, and ask them questions, because the same stuff always comes up. And we know that the legacy media still spins the same narratives, the same FUD about energy usage, whereas actually Bitcoin is a base power consumer that allows electrical build out in places where it's not actually feasible to do so. So the power usage has been debunked. And besides that, look at just human flourishing when using energy. As energy usage grows higher, humans flourish more because we can do more. We can have lights on. The hospital will always have power, and it saves lives to have energy. You can cook your food and pasteurize your milk and do whatever. So the mainstream FUD will always be there, and they will tell you it's like tulips, but the tulip story is fake, and tulips didn't go up for 15 years like Bitcoin did, and we are really just in the beginning. There's two things that are always true. You always feel like you're too late to Bitcoin. I felt that way in 2017. I felt that way in 2020. I feel that way now. I feel like I could never get enough. I mean, I did lose my keys in that horrible boating accident, so it's a real shame. But I've started from scratch, and I still feel is debased. So get involved and just start learning about it. Stay humble and just stack sats. Just spend less than you make each month and save it in Bitcoin and wait for 4 years and come back and thank Lawrence and I.
And it'll all pay off. That's it. Like it's paid off for us and millions of other people out there. Yeah, do your work and just start. Download a wallet and start stacking sats and start education. Go on YouTube. There's so many different places out there you can learn about this, and uh, to start educating yourself. That's what it's all about, education. Yeah, that's what we like to do here in Ireland with the Bitcoin events that we run here, and talking to different people and meeting people around the world. And we're doing our bit here as well, giving a bit back to the community. Yeah, and get into the industry. Yeah, because this is a new industry that's coming, and I'm 51 years of age. I've done my time already. But I'm starting again. Yeah, and I never thought I'd be starting into something else. I mean, I should be really getting ready for retirement, but I can see a really bright future ahead of us. Yeah, and that's why I take the time to meet people and do what I do and reach out to people but you meet some really, really amazing people, and the community is really amazing as well. Yeah, the different people, and we're I don't know. People say it's like a cult, but I think we're a different breed of people, I think, what I mean? And Bitcoin changes you. Yeah, because I met people with so many different backgrounds, and people used to do different things before in their lives, and they've just given all that up and they've just moved forward, and we're just looking to the future now, you know? Yeah, Bitcoin does change you for the better.
It
Yeah.
changes you for the better. Yeah, it certainly changes you for the better. It will lower your time preference because you will think to yourself, do I need to spend this money right now on that thing when I could save it in Bitcoin and could see its value appreciate? And so it encourages you to spend less on frivolous things. And once you have that mindset, you can save for your future. And when the time is right, you spend that Bitcoin. You sell it for whatever you want to get for your Bitcoin, whether it's your citadel or eventually you want the car or it's inheritance for your kids. Just uh, yeah, consider putting off the consumption now because the whole system is designed to keep you consuming and in the rat race forever. And I think Bitcoin is finally our escape from that rat race.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, Byron, thanks for your time. Yeah. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they be able to get in touch with you? You're on X, or how would they get in touch with you if they want to find out more about Liquid or bring you on for an interview? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Lawrence, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And yes, you can find me on X at Byron Hambly. And besides that, yeah, I work on Liquid at Blockstream. Check out Blockstream. Their mission is to scale Bitcoin to the rest of the world. They have a number of products to do so. Specifically, I work on Liquid. You can find out more about Liquid at liquid.net. And there's a whole bunch of links from there to whatever social platforms you're on. And yeah, feel free to hit me up on X anytime, and I will chat to you guys soon. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, and we'll catch back up again sometime. And if you're around Ireland in May of next year, 2025, come over to the event. Give us a shout. We'll get you up on the stage, and you can talk more about Liquid and all this amazing work that you're doing behind the scenes. Yeah, we only see the front end stuff. You're working on the back end.
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to be there, and yeah, we'll chat again. Let me know, and I will do my best to be there.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.